Yeah, these aren't kids that you have to explain a lot about. They're out there on message boards. They're on these different shows they're on television following recruiting. These are guys most people have talked about since their junior year for these seniors. But a couple of these juniors are going to be new. Kids that I knew about even last year, and then you see what they're doing this summer. So these juniors will be new, but these three seniors certainly people have heard about.
All right, start at number 10 with me. Here, Aaron Odom of Callaway. Got to be honest with you, Chris. He's a guy now, you have him in the top 10 of the Super 25. He's a name that I haven't heard much about. What's the reason for that?
He's not out a lot. If you check the different recruiting sites, you'll see some interviews with him. Matt, you might have heard of his brother. Derek Odom came out of Callaway. Gosh, it's been a lot of years now. He was a really big linebacker recruit. Aaron's just a junior. I've had the chance to see him play since he was a freshman because I was at Callaway a lot to see Breland speak. It's a real easy comparison, but a lot of people are going to make this. He looks a lot like Breland. He's played middle linebacker till now. He's probably more like 255 right now, to be honest. 6'3", 255 as a junior. I know in the spring from talking to their coach, Coach Austin, he ran a 4.76. Which he's not a burner, but 250 pounds, and you can run something like that. He has athleticism, but then on the field is where I really got a lot of which is why I put him at 10. He had 133 tackles, had 20 tackles for loss last year. I saw him twice, and for a big guy, I mean, he doesn't get tired. He's sideline to sideline, plays with a lot of energy. He won't be a linebacker in college because he's going to get bigger and going to get bigger. They're going to play him at end or possibly defensive tackle, but he's a heck of a player.
So his brother is Derek Odom that played linebacker at Alabama in the early 90s and won a national championship there? Is that the same guy I'm thinking of?
No, I think it's a different guy. Let me research it a little bit. I think this is a different guy.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. So at number 9 then, Jordan Duncan. Now he's a receiver at Oak Grove who I've seen play more than once in his career, starting when he was just a sophomore. And then obviously his team was in the 6A state championship game a year ago. 6'2", 190, offers listed there at supertalk.fm from Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas. Long, rangy, and just naturally catches the ball well. What do you think about that evaluation?
That's perfect. Nothing about him is going to wow you. I mean, he's 6'2", he's 190 pounds. He's fast, but he's not like 4'3" or 4'4", not one of those kids that's going to blow up Twitter. But every time I see the kid play, Matt, he makes plays. He needs 100 yards every game. He looks natural playing receiver. He has unbelievable hands. He had over 1,200 yards last year. I think the kid will. I think he'll have a big senior season, obviously. But every year I want to see him play last year, and I'm going to really see Cam Myers. At the time was committed to Mississippi State. This kid is the one that really showed out. I think he's got a great future.
Chris Brooks on your radio. It's head-to-head Super Talk Mississippi and supertalk.fm, continuing with the Super 25, a collaborative effort between Mississippi Gridiron Magazine and head-to-head on Super Talk Mississippi, counting down the top 25 players in the state of Mississippi, regardless of class. We gave you 5 of them on Monday, 5 on Tuesday, 5 yesterday, and today we are in that 6 through 10 category. Let's go to number 8 on the list. Another junior in this group, Willie Gay, the linebacker from Starkville High.
Well, Willie started last year. Starkville, of course, rolled out to those 13 wins to start the season, and then he was a kid that you noticed. I mean, he made plays, but really this summer is where his recruitment's taken off. He shows up to these camps. He's a well-built, chiseled 6'2", 210, 215, but he runs 4.5, low 4.5s. I saw him in a couple different places run those kind of times. And then you put him out in different drills, and every recruiting guy that I talked to this summer that was with me at these camps that were wowed by what this kid did. I think he's going to have a really big junior year, has a chance to be one of the top 1, 2, 3 players in Mississippi next year. And of course, you mentioned earlier, I believe, Richard, about his offer list. As soon as everybody saw him this summer, he's getting offers from all over the place.
Yeah, and his teammate, who we probably got on him or heard his name a little earlier in this whole recruiting process, A.J. Brown, a big-time receiver, is one spot over at number 7 in the Super 25. Not surprised at all. I don't think anybody's surprised, are they, Chris, to see A.J. Brown in the top 10?
No, and honestly, Matt, from here up, these top 7 kids, and there's going to be 6 of these who are seniors. 6 of these that are seniors. I think these kids are separated a little bit from everybody else. I mean, and honestly, you're talking these 1 through 6, they're almost interchangeable. AJ showed up at the camp this weekend at the opening in Oregon. They measured him 5'11", 214. I think that's wrong. And he even went back and forth with me on Twitter last night. He's 6'1", about 210 pounds. He ran a lasered, I believe, 4.5, 240 at the event up there. He showed very well. He's rated the number 125 prospect in the country on Scout. Caught 52 passes for over 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns last year. I think he's a guy. He was overshadowed a little bit by DK Metcalf early in the recruiting process, but this is a kid in his own right. He's a fantastic athlete, and I think you'll see him inch up towards those top 100 lists in the nation.
Chris, why would you have the discrepancy on his height? I'm assuming at an event like that with as many eyeballs as on it, they would want to make sure that they get heights and weights and 40 times and all that good stuff accurate. But you say you've seen him and you've seen him measured, and 6'1's the number.
Yeah, when I've seen him, I'm thinking 6'1", 6'2". These different combines are not always run the same. Even if it's with the same people, this is the opening, which is from Nike. But at one of the earlier opening combines, they measured him, I think, at 6'1.5", maybe in Atlanta. So that's why I was surprised to see him show up at this one, and then they put out that he's 5'11", because but they were the same combine from Nike. So I don't understand why that. He said that it was wrong. So we'll find out. I think the kid is around 6'1".
I want to go back to a conversation, I think it was last week maybe, when we were kind of looking ahead, and A.J. Brown's one of those names that you've known about for a while. You were comparing he and DK Metcalf because they're probably the 2 marquee wide receivers at the top of this class. And I think, I don't want to misquote you, but I think you said maybe A.J. Brown is not quite as physically imposing, but kind of from a pure receiver standpoint, you really like what he brings to the table. Is that accurate?
Yeah, has great hands. He's real quick in and out of breaks. So he's not as tall as DK. I mean, DK, you can almost make that kid a tight end. I mean, he could be 250 in college if he really wanted to be. But DK plays wide receiver like a linebacker. He moves you around. He's so physical. This kid's different. He's more of a fluid guy. He can really run. He gets open. He just does it different. He's not as physical, even though he's put together. He just plays the position differently. But I think, just from a skill standpoint, he has a lot of just natural instincts to play wide receiver.
So I want to go back to something you said earlier, too, Chris. This is Chris Brooks at MS Gridiron on Twitter. Follow him there. Make sure you get your hands on the magazine, which comes out. We'll get some of that information coming up, too. I've got to get a copy as soon as it's available. 2 juniors now in the top 10 of the Super 25 this year. Aaron Odom from Callaway, Willie Gay from Starkville. We've got a bunch of juniors already on the list so far. Is this kind of typical to have this many juniors that are the top, not only top 25, but in the top 10 in the state, or is this a special junior class?
I don't know if I would say it's a special junior class. I don't know if it's going to be as strong as this senior class. There are 4 to 5 guys at the top that I would say that about. They could be special kind of talent. I think Willie Gay's like that. I definitely think Aaron Odom's like that. We've already talked about the wide receiver from Morton. I think those kind of kids, they can be in there, but there's honestly not a lot of lists like that, which is why I like what we're doing. We're mixing these juniors and seniors, and if we had a sophomore come up through here, I like putting it together like this. I just know on Friday nights when you go to these games, often it's a junior that's the one that's showing out. Or I've seen it even be sophomore. I've made this comparison before. I saw Tony Connor as a freshman at South Panola, and I'm not so sure that kid wasn't one of the best football players I saw all year, period, even as a ninth grader, but surely as a 10th grader. So I'm glad that we're mixing this up a little bit. But to compare to this class, the 16 class, the 17 class is going to have to show some more depth.
Chris, you said a second ago, and we'll get to number 6 on the list as we count down toward the number 1 spot, the top 5 spot coming up tomorrow. You said the top 7, I think were your words, in this group. There's a little bit of separation. You've been doing this long enough. Do you feel like that's the case just about every year, that somewhere between 5 and 10 guys in the state of Mississippi, even if you've got 30 or 35 Division I signees when all is said and done, that's about the number 5 to 10 every year that are just a little bit different?
I've done this for 6 years, Richard. That number changes, but there's definitely a number every year of kids you see, and you think these kids are definitely physically ready to play college football. That doesn't mean they always pan out. There's often character issues, and you don't know what a kid's work ethic is going to be like. And I don't like to single out kids' names by the ones that haven't worked, but that's usually the reason. Some of these kids that are incredible talents don't always have to work very hard. But you see these kids on Friday nights, and they can go out there in their sleep, and they're better than everybody else. But this year, and that's not to say that these are the only ones that are going to pan out. A kid like Scott Lashley, who's at 11, he's still learning how to play football. Physically, that kid has everything you could ever want. He's just not as advanced right now as some of these kids that I would say, these top 6 or 7, which A.J. Brown's in there. I just think these kids, I would explain it like this. Usually Mississippi has 2 or 3 kids who are in these top 100 national lists. And I don't know if that's because these people just get used to kind of pigeonholing states. They know there's going to be 2 or 3. I think there's 6 this year, and I hope they all 6 get some strong consideration to be in there.
It'll be interesting to see when those lists come out. Number 6 on the list, Octavius Cooley, the senior tight end from Laurel. He's a big kid, 6'3", 245. Is he going to be a tight end that's hand on the ground, or one that can kind of slide out into that slot, or kind of flex out a little bit into a more of a receiver type spot?
Richard, I've had him as high as 2 on this list, just to tell you how close this is with these kids and how talented this guy is. He could do whatever he wants, to be honest. He's that kind of talent. It's up to him. His work ethic, how well he keeps himself in shape. He has almost 3,000 receiving yards already, because he had 1,000 as a freshman, I believe, or he was right there as a sophomore, then he did it again as a junior. So he's been a name for a long time. I have some pictures of him where he's going up to catch a ball last year at 245 pounds. I mean, he's a foot over the defensive back, and he's probably 3 feet off the ground. He's an unbelievable physical specimen if you go see him play in person, because he can play at 245, and he looks like a wide receiver when they split him out.
So just like Matt Wyatt.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. But I don't know, Matt, are you a 4'6" or a 4'7" guy still?
On a moped.
Yeah, but
maybe
this kid,
something like that.
If you see this kid play basketball too, I saw him as a sophomore, and he's all over the court. This last year, I saw him at the end of the year. He looked bigger, and it wasn't all good weight. But I heard over the summer that he got himself in shape, that he looks great right now. If he keeps himself in shape, the kid's one of the best tight end prospects in the country for a reason. He has every physical tool you could want.
Yeah, certainly. I got to see him play this past year in the state championship game in Starkville. And he's got there at Laurel, he got a big quarterback who can sling it around with a big, strong arm, some other good players on that team. And he's a big, physical, just a tough guy to handle physically at that position. Chris, we appreciate it. This time tomorrow, what we've been building up to all week, the top 5. Can't wait for that. Talk.